everybody, welcome to my math video. For this video, I will be talking about scientific and standard notation. So these two things, you can't really talk about one without talking about the other. That's why they're actually going to be together in this presentation here. Okay, so let's get started here. So we're pretty much going to be going over converting between the two. Okay, so we'll start with standard notation. So standard notation are numbers that you see every day, normally. You know, like big numbers, like 5,200,000, 8,600, you know, stuff like that. Okay, so how do we convert to standard notation? So let's say you have a number that's already in scientific notation. We're going to take the decimal and we're going to move it left or right, depending on what the exponent is attached to the 10 that you'll see. Okay, so if the exponent is positive, we're going to move it to the right. If it's negative, we're going to move it to the left. Alright, so let's take a look and see how this works. Okay, so this is what a number looks like in scientific notation, and what we're going to do is we're going to convert it into standard notation, into a number that you normally would see every day. Okay, so let me just add in some zeros. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this exponent here that's attached to this 10, and this is what we're going to use to move the decimal. Okay, so this 4 is positive, and if you remember on the number line, positive numbers are on the right side. So this decimal is going to move to the right 4 times. So our number in standard notation looks like this. Alright? Simple enough. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so here's another example here. So I'm going to add in some zeros. Okay, so the reason I put the zeros in the front here this time is because this exponent here is negative, which means we're going to move the decimal to the left, because if you remember on the number line, negative numbers appear on the left side. Yeah? Okay, so we're going to move this decimal 3 times to the left. So this will be our number in standard notation. Alright, so pretty simple converting back into standard notation. Okay, so scientific notation. So here's the things about scientific notation. So numbers in scientific notation are usually between 1 and 10. They can be 1, but they can't be 10, because if they were in 10, they wouldn't. If they were 10, they wouldn't be in scientific notation. Okay, so you take that number and it's multiplied to 10 raised to some exponent, and as you saw in the previous examples, the exponent can be an integer, right? Okay, so let's see how this looks. Oh, not yet. Okay. So these are kind of the steps here. The previous slide was the rules. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the number, we're going to place a decimal point somewhere in there to make it so that the value is between 1 and 10. Then we'll lop on that times 10 portion that you saw in the previous examples, and then we'll attach the exponent to that 10. So the exponent will be equal to the number of times you have to move the decimal in the scientific notation to get it back to the standard notation. So if you have to move the decimal to the left, your exponent will be negative, and if you have to move the decimal to the right, your exponent will be positive. So let's go through a couple examples. You can see how this looks. Okay, so let's take this number here. We'll convert it into scientific notation. So this number right now is in standard notation. So the first step was to put a decimal in here so that its value will be between 1 and 10. So I'm going to put the decimal here between the 1 and 6 so that its value becomes between 1 and 10. Okay, then we'll attach that times 10. Okay, now we'll add on the exponent. So from here to here, we'll move the decimal right 6 times to get the decimal back to its original position. So we're going to add on the exponent of 6. So this tells us to get from here back to the original number, we have to move the decimal 6 times to the right, which is correct because we need to move it to the right to make it that large number again. Okay, so let's try another example here. So this one here. So again, first step, place a decimal so that it creates a number that's between 1 and 10. So if I put the decimal between the 2's here, I get a number between 1 and 10. Then we're going to add on that times 10. Now we need to figure out what the exponent will be. So we'll use this step here to determine how many times we need to move the decimal to get back to the original number. So from this step to this step here, the decimal was here between the 2's. We need to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and to the left. So our exponent is going to be a 5, but it's going to be a negative 5 because we need to move the decimal to the left to get back to the original number. So this will be our final result here. Okay, so I hope that made sense. If not, you can rewatch it. Okay, so summing it all up, this is all we pretty much did. We converted between scientific and standard notation. And converting to scientific notation generally is where people get the most difficulties. But you can go back and watch those portions over again if you need to. It's a good review. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. That's it for this video, guys, so take care.